So for today's project, I am going to be playing with this paper called Color Me Happy 1. This really bright, just happy, fun gal here. Love her. So I have just trimmed off the little white border. You could also tear it off. Tearing edges would be nice rather than having a straight cut, so you can do it either way you like. And I'm going to be working in a Dylusions art journal. This one. Now this Dylusions art journal has different colored pages in it. It's got your mixed media, kind of that manila color. It's got the black and it's got the craft. So today I'm going to be working on a black page on this side and start with the black base and then add my colors. So if you don't have a page that's black already, just paint it black or put black gesso on there. If you're not working in one of these Dylusions journals that are quite large, you could also just do, well, you could shorten to just have the focal point of her face if it's a shorter journal, or if it's a narrower journal. Things look good with just a portion of face on them too, and then have a saying or something over here. So whatever journal you have, it's going to work. And I'm just going to start by putting some fluid matte medium down on my page. If you've got gel matte medium, that works too. When I'm doing a large area, I often use the fluid. And then I'm just going to brush that on. And you'll notice that even though I'm going beyond the edges of the paper, it's okay. It's going to dry matte rather than shiny or glossy. So it's okay if it goes over. And then I'm just going to place it. It doesn't have to be centered or anything like that. I do kind of want it so that she's straight rather than being on an angle. And if I get a little bit of the matte medium on top of my image here, that's okay too. I do want to make sure I've got it all the way down. It looks like I actually need a little bit more there. And you can see here, I had some on my finger, now it's on top of my paper, and that's fine. Need a little bit more, so we'll just spread it in there. Under my edges, it seems like it's kind of dried out a little bit already, so we'll be generous with it in there. I just don't want my edges to stick up is all. Okay, and now I'm getting it from my fingers more on here the more I work. So, time to stop because I'm starting to make a mess here. So I'm going to put a little bit of my paint out on the palette here just to... So I'm just going to put my palette here off to the side. So I'm going to start with just putting my brush in a little bit of the black and do some strokies like this. I just don't want everything even, so I'm purposely kind of doing a crisscross. And then I do want to make sure that it gets down into this ditch, just so that I don't have a gap there. I'll just go all the way up. There we go. Okay, and then I'm just a little bit of crisscross and a little bit on this side. And this side where it's already black, I'm going to put a little bit too, just to, actually I'll paint it solid. And this painting it solid could have been done before the print was glued down, or it can be done now afterwards, doesn't really matter. And we'll just do it a little bit messy, painterly, going across. And because my black paint looks slightly different than the background of the print, I'm also going to just bring it over the edge a little bit. You know, one's a little glossier than the other. So this doesn't look like it was framed with paint. Get some of this background here done. And then I'll just carry some of that over in a bit of a crisscross style. There we go. Now it looks more like she's part of my project. Maybe I'll even do just a little bit of streakies. A little bit onto the red maybe. One swipe. Good enough. So I'm just kind of blending her in with my background. And I think that's working out really good. So if you hear some water splashing, it's because I'm cleaning out the black off of my paintbrush. And I want to change colors here. And this, oh, it's sunshine, so it's kind of a yellowy orange. That's pretty close. It's pretty close. And we'll carry on with a little bit of this streaky. And this looks to me like I probably need to have another coat of it. And I just adding a little here and there. I'll add a little bit onto this side as well. And you can see, because my black isn't dry, I'm kind of mixing this sunshine with the black, but I'm okay with that. Gonna have to be, right? If you don't like that, just dry one color first before you start with the next. And then I want to carry her on. Make it look more like she continues here. Maybe a little down here. And then I'm also going to carry some on to this other page. So whatever paint I have squirted out here, I'm going fairly random, but I'm still kind of doing these little X's. No particular reason, just like the look of it. And now I'm just using up my paint. My book is almost too big to stay on camera here, my art journal. So sorry if that goes off a little bit. That's all I'm doing. And then I can clean my brush off again. Okay, and now we're going to take a chance with this blue and see what happens with that. And if it doesn't work, we'll just have to cover it up with some other color. Actually, I think it's going to be fine. So we'll add a little blue here and there, maybe down here where it continues on. Actually, yeah, that's going to be fine. So we'll look like that continues on her strap, and we'll do some other colors up here. If I'm covering up some of my yellow, which I end up doing, that's okay too. And I do want to balance it out with some color over on this page. Got a lot of black area here still. And I don't mind some of that peeking through. But I'm thinking I will do a handwritten quote on this side, possibly in a black, so then I would need a colored surface for that to go onto. So I may end up doing a lot of this in the blue. And I'm kind of liking that. With the blue over here, it's helping to keep her, like her sunglasses, a bit of a, I don't know, stands out, which I quite like. Try to get the paint down into that groove a little bit there too. Okay, so that's quite a bit there. And on this side here where I was first putting down the blue, it kind of dried to being not as opaque as I wanted. So while I've got it out, we'll do a second copy. Second copy. A second coat. That's what you call it when it's paint, is a coat. Second coat. And a little more down here again. Yeah, I think that's working. It's not the exact same blue. Even this blue isn't the same as what's up here, but it's definitely working. And now I'm just playing. I'm using up my leftover blue. Yeah, can I add some in here? I'm just about out of blue, so it's not really much left there. So that's good. And then my last color is red, although that doesn't mean I need to stop. I can take a look at it and decide where I need more color and even overlap them. So I'll clean out my paintbrush, dry this with a heat gun, and then we'll be back. Okay, now we're going to bravely jump in with this red. And I want to try to be aware to not cover up all my black. I do want some black left in there. And this red just doesn't match that red. So what I'm going to do is pull it over a little bit. There, now we got some of that red in there. So we got two shades of red, but one purposely matches. Now maybe I don't really like it covering up too much of her hair here. Keep it more on the edge, maybe where her hair isn't there. Over on these areas. And bring it over to the other page. And could add some over here as well. But I do want to leave some black over there too. Is this okay with black down here? Maybe I should add a little red there too. This one, you can see it's just a little too transparent. You can see too much of the black through there. Okay, it doesn't really show up on camera, but in person I can see that. So I'll want to put another coat of red over top of some of these first coats here, but let me get some red over onto this page. I've got a lot of blue here, so it's safe to cover up some of that blue too. And make sure I leave some black there. If I get carried away, my black will be gone. And where else do we need some red? The red's a little bit overpowering the other colors, so I don't want to go too crazy with it. In fact, maybe I should stop there. Okay, this is, well, I've got a little more red on my palette. Oh yeah, I like that much better with a second coat on some of those. Just works better. And now I'm just checking which ones I need to darken up a little bit, which I kind of think it's all of them. Or maybe I'm just liking the color better when it's wet than when it's dry. That's possible, but it will darken up some by doing a second layer. And I'm just about out of paint here, so I'll have to be happy with it, or else I got to put some more out on my palette. But I think that's good. a little bit of touch-ups here, and I think that's good. So again, I will clean my paintbrush and wiggle that around so you can see more of the whole image. This way, that's what we got so far. And then actually it just about fits in the frame there. So clean my brush, dry my paint, and then we'll continue. Okay, so we're pretty good here. This is actually a really fast project. But I do want my colors a little more solid, so I'm going over them again with another layer. And this will kind of give me some different tones because where I'm putting a second layer of blue, it doesn't totally cover up the first layer. So it gives me a bit of a lighter shadow behind it in this same blue shade though. So that's kind of fun. And I don't necessarily need to go over all of them, although it kind of looks like I'm going to. Partly because, you know what, the project is going so fast and I don't want the fun to be over. So it gets to the point where I just start to fiddle just for the sake of having fun. Is that silly, or do you do that too? Okay, those are all really nice dark blue now. I'm pretty happy with that. So again, I'm going to dry that and clean my brush. Okay, so I'm going over it again with this Sunshine, kind of an orangish, yellowy color, and it has just about disappeared in my back. Because it's kind of disappeared behind all my other colors, and I want it to show. This is very much not my normal choice of colors, and it's very bold rather than vintage. It's not, well, it's not, yeah, it's not real bright. It's more bold, I think. But it's kind of fun to go off of what you always use and try something else. And I need a little bit more of that Sunshine out on my palette. And you'll notice here where I'm painting right at the edge of the page, rather than start off with my brush above the paper and come this way, I start on the paper and go off. And the reason is because look at all these globs of paint. And if I start this way, some's going to catch on the edge of the page and go on other pages of my book. So, but if I go this way and go off, then I don't get as much of that happening. That's kind of a big blob there I just put down. That's okay. It's all gonna work. And this last little piece down here in the corner is pretty light. And maybe I'll just add some here too. And a little bit over here too. It's hard to know when to stop when you're having fun, right? Okay, and then the rest. So I have managed to leave just a little bit of black, not a lot, but I got some out there, so that's okay. Well, maybe I need a little touch here without making my black disappear. So the next thing I want to do is splatter some of these colors over the image, and I don't necessarily want the splatters to go right onto her face. So I'm going to take a piece of paper towel, roughly the size of her face. See if that doesn't cover up too much. And it's okay if some gets on there. I just don't want like a great big blob on her face. And I'll try it. Okay, I maybe tore a little bit too much off. I'll keep it off of her glasses there too. There we go. And then I'm just going to take on my palette the paints that are left, probably shouldn't have set that down in wet paint. So these palettes, the paints that are on my palette, and I'm just going to spray a little bit of water on there. So now I have a thin paint. And then I can pick that up with my brush, and because I already had the sunshine on my brush, I'll start with that color. Okay, well, I can't find my splatter brush, so I'll just have to live. I'll have to live with this inferior way of doing things. And whatever I do on the one page, I like to do on the other side to balance it out. But you definitely don't need to do as many splatters as I did there. Although the one thing about splattering is that, you know, once you start, I mean, it's kind of fun, and it's kind of fun to watch the transition of your page get splattered, and so it's hard to know when to stop. But I do have to clean my brush in between all these colors. Now I think I might just go with yellow and the red. Up in that area is a little blank, and then of course we've got to get some over on this page. Even the red splatters on top of the red paint, they do show up some. Okay, and then do I want to splatter with black? I don't think so. I think that's, just keep it with the two colors splattered. If you find this is too dark and you want to lighten it up, splattering with white can help. That'll really stand out compared to the other colors. So that's always a possibility. And there we go. Yeah, I like it better with no splatters on her face there. So I'm going to dry it, and then we'll come up with a quote to put on there. So I'm going to add a quote, and I'm just going to do it with a permanent black marker. So a Sharpie, but any kind of permanent black marker that you can, or even a paint marker, will work. And I'm just going to freehand it. If it's not straight, that's fine. If it's, I just hope I hope I don't misspell it. That's all. And you know, really, if it really came down to that I absolutely made a disaster, I could paint this over it again, right? So it's you know, it's not that risky. I have a plan B, but I really should not need to do that. I'm hoping. And I'm going to thicken that up a little bit too. Now, if you wanted to, you could you could write it in pencil first. But a word of caution, if you're going to do it in pencil, go very lightly. Because if you want to get rid of the pencil mark, if you've pressed hard, you've actually made a dent in your page, and erasing is not going to get rid of the dent. And even covering it with paint, you sometimes can see the little dent there. So just go very lightly rather than pressing hard if you're going to do pencil. I can't talk and write at the same time. So I do want to kind of fit this in. And you could do fancier lettering for sure. Are the vitamins, I should maybe have gone a little smaller. So colors are the vitamins of the soul. And then once this dries, because I don't want my hand to smear over top of it, then I'll go in and thicken this a little. So it shows up better. And, you know, it's an art journal. It's not a wall hanging. So it doesn't need to be Then I feel like, oh geez, now I need to add some white somewhere else, not just in the letters. And I don't have a plan for white, so I'm just going to add some white randomly. We'll just do some white dots since I got the pen out here anyways. And of course what I do on one page, I need to do on the other. And this will kind of make it look like the dots go off the page. Now the trick is when you're doing something like this, now I have little spots of wet white paint. If I go up here, I want to make sure I don't stick my arm in it because now I have smeared white paint everywhere, right? And I'll do some so that it looks like they cross over onto both pages. Ooh, there's a big blob come out. Now what happens if I... Can I pick that up with a baby wipe? Yes. Okay, that kind of worked. And maybe I'll do a little bit on her as well. Yeah, I kind of like that actually. Have fun. I know I have. See you on the next project.